Chris Lowe, about an hour and a half ago, report Nick Saban is hiring Kevin Steele as his defensive coordinator at Alabama. Let me repeat, because I see a lot of your faces out there. That Kevin Steele, yep, that one, he's being hired as the defensive coordinator at Alabama. To recap, Nick Saban has hired a 30-year-old offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator with 39 years coaching experience. So, taste every bit of the rainbow in Tuscaloosa, Alabama right now. Am I surprised? Well, 48 hours I would have been. This kind of started bubbling, at least as far as I think credibility is concerned. It started bubbling about the past 48, 72 hours. It was a name always on the periphery. I've got a thought why the name has been on the periphery to begin with. I quite frankly, I've got a thought as to why I think Nick Saban hired him. But first, we just need to take it in together. If you're a Georgia fan, quite frankly, if you're a Georgia fan, you may look at this and you may chuckle a little bit. I understand where you guys are coming from. If you're an Alabama fan, you're probably slightly to moderately puzzled. I know that the iJosh's battery is running precariously low because some of you have just let it be known to me you flat out don't like the hire. Again, we're not going to go through Kevin Steele's entire tenure because it's going to be about a 3-hour-long show if we did that, but he's been coaching for 39 years. Again, just for emphasis, let me remind you, Saban just hired an offensive coordinator that's 30 years old. Kevin Steele's been at it for 39 years. Here's what happens anytime Nick Saban does anything. It doesn't matter if he makes moves that otherwise people would disapprove of. People have the tendency to just blindly trust Nick Saban. I am one of those people, mind you. So we the people, have a tendency sometimes to explain away or even just blindly trust some decisions that, you know, if Dave Aranda made or if Mike Gundy made, we would say, is he crazy? Well, maybe not. So there are some things being said. Having admitted that, there's some things being said right now that I'm not necessarily buying. I asked producer Jesse a second ago, hey, just without knowing anything more than you know, try to explain this to me. I asked him if he was impressed with the hire. He said, not particularly. I said, okay, what do you think Nick Saban's doing? And he said, it feels to me like he's trying to get back to his old comfort level, right? And there is a thing to be said about comfort level. Then again, some of the most successful people in the world, Saban being one of them, would be the first to preach to you, when you're comfortable, you're getting left behind. So I sat there for about 15 minutes. We got a dark room in here. I believe it's a lactation room, but we don't use it as such. And I went in the lactation room a second ago, and I just sat there in the dark, and I just chewed on that idea. Comfort level. And then I walked out of the lactation room, and I said, nope, I'm rejecting that entirely. He's not trying to get comfortable. I think what he may be trying to do is bide his time. You could sell me on that. He's not trying to get comfortable. You could also sell me, and I'm actually buying this part, you could also sell me that he is looked at the landscape of college football, and I think it helps to see what Georgia just did and understand we don't necessarily need to reinvent anything here. In fact, we may need to strip some things out, and we may need to go back to doing some things philosophically the way they have been proven to work here before. You could sell me on that. You're just not selling me that with all of the resources and options at Nick Saban's disposal, Kevin Steele's the guy with no conditions tied to it that he looked at and said, he's who I want to run my defense. You won't sell me on that. That's why I use the word conditions. If you see me, well, you know what, let me go hypothetical on you. If I'm loaded, if I'm a 7-figure per year guy and I wreck my car and you see me driving my Toyota Camry up in your driveway, there's a reason I'm in that Camry. And it's not because I just decided to downgrade from Mercedes to Camry. It's because it's a rental. And it's because you're probably going to see me in something brand spanking new 2 or 3 weeks from now. And it very well may be that that's what we're looking at Alabama. Now, not 2 or 3 weeks from now, so forget the figurative timeline there. But there is no way that you're convincing me that there are no conditions, there are no caveats, there's nothing Nick Saban knows that we don't know. This is just as it appears. Nick Saban, all options on the table, has decided 39-year veteran of the industry, Kevin Steele, is the guy of all guys to lead his defense. That you won't sell me on. So, what are the conditions? That's where we get to baselessly and wildly speculate, because I know that he likes that so much. Jeremy Pruitt's name's been thrown around a lot. I have no clue what's going to happen with him. For the record, I don't think Jeremy Pruitt knows what's going to happen with him when it comes to the NCAA. I think it is roundly understood at this point to be the sticking point as to why he's not already the defensive coordinator at Alabama. So then the natural follow-up is, well, when will they know? Well, isn't that a great question? And if he is your future guy, who are you going to put in that spot in the meantime? I'm going to let you put two and two together there. But it's not a guarantee that's the case. I am fully admitting to you, I'm throwing out some hypotheticals now. But if I had Jeremy Pruitt in my back pocket and I just didn't know when I could pull him out and use him, this is what I would do. How about this, though? If I just hired an up-and-comer like Austin Armstrong from Southern Miss, who's very highly thought of in the industry but is still very young, and I just didn't think he was quite ready to run my defense yet, but I'm going to put him as my linebackers coach, and I think extremely highly of him in his future, this also could be what I do. My point there is, if you go back through the 39 years Kevin Steele's been in this industry, Jesse was showing me a little while ago, he walked up to me and said, look how rarely Steele has stayed in the same place more than 3 years. I know this won't be any different, at least in this role. But then we get to the other natural follow-up, and that is Nick Saban going to coach till he's 114 years old? Like, what are we talking about here? I guess the working theory amongst most everyone is when you ask, hey, how long does Nick Saban have left? Everyone says, oh, it's not going to be tomorrow, but it won't be too far down the road. Now, I have tended to think it's a little bit further down the road than maybe you think it is on average, just you being a generality there. But even I don't think he's going to make it to 114 years old. So sometime between now and 2050, whatever that would be, Nick Saban's going to go work for a TV network. And so I don't know how long into the future he's looked here. I am very aware, keenly aware, at what a job at Alabama means in the coaching industry because I talked to him. You know, I had one a few months ago who you would know who is at a major university, a place you would think this person is fixed, a place that you only think this person would leave for a head coaching job. And he said that exact thing to me. Only way I'm leaving here is for a head coaching job. But he didn't put a period on the end of the sentence. He said, or if Alabama calls. That's how that job and working for that man is thought of in the coaching industry. So the other thing you won't sell me on is, well, this is just all he had left. The only options, Todd Grantham, randomly tucked away in Tuscaloosa. He interviewed for the job, reportedly, didn't get it, so he moves on. Todd Grantham would have been a completely underwhelming hire. So my point is, when you keep hearing all the options, and they're all underwhelming, it stands to reason there's probably a condition on the table that the top candidates were not really necessarily willing to jive with, or Nick Saban didn't even bother offering those candidates this job because he himself understood where he's going with the role of defensive coordinator at Alabama. So I think that there is plenty beneath the surface. We don't know it. He is notoriously tight-lipped about this stuff and will remind you of such anytime that you speculate publicly about it. So I'm just going to say this. I think there's more to it than meets the eye. And I think in time, it will be made apparent to everyone who pays close attention to the program. Until then, get ready for some really, really whacked out headlines over the next 72 hours because it is the middle of February. It is a dead season for content creation, and you're going to have some folks like piranhas to a zebra's carcass, and we all know how frequently I use that metaphor. They're going to pounce on this thing, and you're going to hear some wild stuff said about Nick Saban and Kevin Steele and the like, and I just wanted to get out here, and I just wanted to tamper things a little bit. Or I guess it's not tamper. That wouldn't be the right word. Tamp things, yeah. It's that tool that you use to tamp down the pitching mound after a game. I always drew that duty, by the way. I don't know why.
Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.